There is a time to speak, and there is a time to be silent. But the wise man, he knows the difference. You see, the tongue is the smallest muscle in your body, yet it holds the power to build a kingdom or destroy it. One wrong word, one misdirected sentence can burn down everything you've spent years building. That is why silence is not weakness. It is strength under control. God doesn't want you to be silent because you're afraid. No, He wants you to be silent because you understand. You understand that not everything needs to be said, that not every battle must be fought with words, that not every opinion needs a platform. That silence at the right moment becomes divine wisdom. Look around you. We live in a world where everyone is speaking, talking, arguing, venting, posting, tweeting, shouting into the void. But ask yourself, how many of them are listening? How many of them are growing? How many of them are actually changing the world with their noise? You weren't called to be noisy. You were called to be effective. God wants you to keep your mouth shut because He's working on your heart. He's shaping your character. He's preparing your destiny. And He knows that if He lets you speak too soon, you'll talk yourself out of your breakthrough. You see, when you open your mouth prematurely, you expose your plan to people who were never meant to hear it. And some of those people, they will use your words against you, not because they're evil, but because they don't see what God showed you. They weren't on the mountain when He whispered your purpose. They weren't there in the midnight hour when you cried out for help and He gave you the vision. They didn't see the fire burning inside of you. So why would you expect them to understand it? There are divine instructions that come with silence. Moses didn't explain the Red Sea. He lifted his rod. Joseph didn't defend his dreams. He just kept walking, through the pit, through the prison, until he arrived at the palace. Jesus, when falsely accused, when mocked, when humiliated, He kept His mouth shut because He knew the cross wasn't the end. It was part of the mission. When you speak too much, you dilute your power. When you reveal too soon, you invite resistance you're not yet strong enough to handle. God knows this. That's why He says, be still and know. Not be loud and prove. Not be vocal and convince. No, be still. Be quiet. Let your silence speak of your faith. Do you know why God sometimes delays your promotion? Because He's waiting for you to grow into a level of discipline where your mouth won't sabotage your miracle. You don't have to comment on every insult. You don't have to reply to every critic. You don't have to explain your vision to those with no eyes to see. You don't have to defend your dream to those who never had the courage to chase theirs. You just have to keep moving, quietly, consistently, obediently. Let your results speak. Let your growth speak. Let your fruit speak. And most importantly, let God speak for you. Sometimes the reason you feel like things aren't shifting in your life is because you won't stop talking. You keep confessing the problem, repeating the fear, rehearsing the pain. And every time you do, you give life to it. You feed it. You magnify it. But when you go silent, truly silent, you shift the atmosphere. You stop feeding the storm and start hearing the whisper of God again. You remember Elijah, the prophet? He didn't find God in the earthquake, not in the fire, not in the wind, but in the still small voice. That's where the revelation was. That's where the power was. And if you're always speaking, if your mind is always racing, your tongue always moving, you'll miss that voice. You'll miss that whisper. You'll miss the one instruction that would have changed your whole life. So God says, hush, be quiet, trust me. When you're silent, it doesn't mean you're defeated. It means you're focused. It means you're preserving energy. It means you're guarding what's sacred, because some dreams are too holy to be discussed in casual conversations. Some battles are too sacred to be fought in public arenas. Some strategies are too divine to be explained to carnal minds. And some victories, they require your quiet obedience before they manifest in loud celebration. So yes, there will be moments when people misunderstand you. Let them. There will be moments when people question your silence. Let them. They will think you've given up when in reality you've just locked in. They will think you're weak when in truth you're just being wise. They will think you're behind when in fact you're being positioned, because God hides his best warriors in the shadows. He trains them in silence. He refines them in obscurity. And when the time is right, when the character is stronger than the calling, he brings them forth. But only when they've learned the lesson of silence. You don't build an empire by announcing every brick. You build it quietly, brick by brick, prayer by prayer, discipline by discipline, until one day they look up and the tower is too high to ignore. Let me tell you something. If you talk too much, you start doubting. Because the more you explain something, the more you leave room for questions. And too many questions in the wrong season can kill the seed before it sprouts. But when you keep quiet, you protect the seed. You water it with prayer. You shield it with patience. You surround it with faith. And in time, that seed will grow into something unstoppable. There is spiritual power in strategic silence. It's in the silence that you hear clarity. It's in the silence that you build inner strength. It's in the silence that you outgrow the noise. Some of you are praying for peace, but peace will never come if your mouth keeps stirring the waters. Some of you are praying for strength, but strength won't rise in you until you stop explaining your struggle to people who cannot help you. Some of you are praying for elevation, but elevation requires the oxygen of stillness. You can't fly if you're weighed down by unnecessary conversations. There are seasons where God says, do nothing. Say nothing. Just trust me, because he's testing you, testing your patience, testing your humility, testing your self-control. You want the next level. Prove you can handle the silence of this one. You want influence. Prove you can be trusted with secrets. You want promotion. Prove you can be faithful when no one's watching. You want favor. Then keep your mouth shut when your flesh wants to retaliate. Keep your mouth shut when you want to brag. Keep your mouth shut when they lie on you, when they gossip about you, when they overlook you. Be silent, because the moment you open your mouth at the wrong time, you invite warfare you're not prepared for. But if you stay silent, you let God fight for you. And believe me, he fights better than you ever could. So today is the day to go quiet, not because you have nothing to say, but because you've grown enough to know that saying nothing is sometimes the loudest message of all. Let your silence roar with purpose. Let your quiet presence carry weight. Let your lack of response be your greatest proof of wisdom. Because in this world where everyone's shouting, the one who whispers is heard the loudest. And when it's finally your time to speak, when the vision has matured, when the blessing has arrived, when the evidence is undeniable, then your words will be like thunder. They will not just be heard, they will be felt. But until then, keep your mouth shut and let God finish what he started. Keep your mouth shut, because every time you choose silence over reaction, you build the strength that will sustain you when the pressure increases. You don't need to rush to defend yourself. You don't need to clap back. Let them talk. Let them think what they want. The noise around you is just a test of what's inside you. Do you know why people lose their breakthroughs? It's not because they lacked the talent or the opportunity. It's because they couldn't control their emotions. They let their tongue become their enemy. They exposed their wounds to the wrong people. They let pride dictate their speech instead of purpose guiding their steps. Your future is not at risk because of external opposition. It's at risk if you can't govern yourself. Your discipline is what protects your destiny, and your silence is part of that discipline. Real strength is restraint. Real maturity is the ability to walk away, not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to know where your energy is most valuable. You see, some doors are not locked. They just require silence to open, because silence is agreement with heaven. Silence is alignment. Silence says, God, I trust your timing more than I trust my tongue. You don't need to announce your next move. You don't need to post your preparation. You don't need to broadcast your battles. You need to move in silence and let the results echo. Let me tell you, some of the greatest breakthroughs happen in the silence, not in the noise, not in the drama, not in the attention, but in the secret place, where only you and God meet. That's where power is transferred. That's where strength is restored. That's where direction is received. You're not behind. You're being hidden. You're not forgotten. You're being refined. You're not ignored. You're being trained. There is a reason God told you to stay silent. Because He's about to do something that words can't explain. If you speak too soon, you'll dilute the magnitude of the miracle. You'll reduce what was meant to be divine into something ordinary. Sometimes God delays the manifestation just to see if you can keep your mouth shut while He works behind the curtain. Because He doesn't just want to bless you. He wants to trust you. And trust is not built in how loud you pray in public, but in how quiet you obey in private. You don't need to tell them what you're building. Just build it. You don't need to explain how much you've changed. Just be it. You don't need to announce that you've leveled up. Just walk in it. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is full of power. It is the container of transformation. When you stop talking and start listening, you'll start hearing again. Hearing your purpose. Hearing the next instruction. Hearing the guidance you've been praying for. Sometimes your mouth is the very thing blocking your ears. Sometimes the noise of your own complaining is drowning out the answer you've been begging God to give you. God already spoke, but your emotions were too loud to hear Him. That's why He needs your silence. Because the version of you that's reactive, impulsive, emotionally unstable, that version cannot carry the weight of the calling He's placed on your life. So He's breaking your dependency on being heard. He's killing your addiction to being validated. He's weaning you off the approval of people so you can graduate into the favor of God. Because when God starts moving on your behalf, there will be no need for explanation. Your silence now will make sense later. They laughed at Noah when he built the ark. He didn't argue, he just built. They sold Joseph into slavery. He didn't beg for understanding, he just trusted. They nailed Jesus to a cross. He didn't retaliate. He fulfilled prophecy. So what makes you think your journey won't require silence? You've got to become comfortable in the quiet. You've got to learn how to sit with unanswered questions and unspoken thoughts. And let the Spirit of God speak louder than your fears. You have to become deaf to distractions and sensitive to signals from heaven. Because not everyone can hear what you hear. Not everyone can carry what you carry. Not everyone will clap for what you're building. And that's okay. You were never building for them. You were building for purpose. And purpose doesn't need applause. Purpose doesn't need permission. Purpose doesn't need explanation. It just needs silence, strategy, and faith. Some people will think you've lost your passion, when in reality, you've just become too focused to be loud. Some will assume you're done dreaming, when in truth, your dreams have grown too big for casual conversation. Some will call you distant, when in fact, you're just getting closer to your destiny than you've ever been before. You are not hiding. You are honing. You are not passive. You are preparing. And this preparation requires silence. Don't tell them what you're about to do. Don't announce the change that's happening in you. Let them see the fruit when the harvest comes. Let them witness the power when the time is right. Let them be amazed when you step into the very thing they thought would never come to pass. But for now, stay silent. And while you're silent, work. While you're silent, pray. While you're silent, grow. While you're silent, serve. While you're silent, listen. Because God is not silent. He's speaking. He's leading. He's preparing the table. But only those who quiet their souls will hear the chair being pulled out. You are being called into a new realm. And this realm requires discipline. This realm requires wisdom. This realm requires silence. Because what's coming next, words won't be able to contain it. So now, hear me, and hear me well. If you can master your tongue, you can master your destiny. If you can hold your peace, God will release His power. If you can remain silent in the fire, you will come out refined like gold. This is not weakness. This is not fear. This is divine strategy. Because when God sees you trust Him enough to stay quiet, when every part of you wants to scream, to retaliate, to prove, to explain, and instead you hold your ground with grace and focus, He moves. Heaven moves. The universe shifts. This is why He wants you to keep your mouth shut, not to punish you, but to position you, because the next blessing is too big for noise. The next level is too holy for drama. The next miracle is too sacred for public discussion. So close your mouth, open your heart, fix your focus. And when it's time, you won't have to say a word, your life will speak.